Anyway, let's get into the match review. Enough of this nun business, and
Who wants a sequel to Sister Act?
we'll get into why I'm wearing this a bit later on in the stream, but let's start off with the game. I think there was a lot of good, there was a lot of bad, there was a lot of ugly in the game. I think you saw all sides of Spurs yesterday, but let's start off with the good bits, particularly in the first half, which I thought we were performing really well.
Yeah,
really, like we were absolutely smashing them for the first 45 minutes, particularly the opening 25 minutes. And I did keep saying, like, we need to get on the score sheet. We need to get on the score sheet. We need to score when we're on top, and it did, end up to pan out like that. But
we did score.
We did score, yeah. But we needed that second goal, and Dom Solanke definitely should have got 2 or 3 goals throughout the game. Brennan Johnson probably should have scored as well. I mean, I can't remember actually off the top of my head, but there was a really great ball played into the back post. That was Brennan Johnson at the back post that should have scored.
Yeah, it was from a free kick. Yeah. Maddison took it. Brilliant ball to the back post. And he either should have scored or he had Solanke and Son in the centre. He should have probably found one of them. And he just flashed it across the face of goal, and no one could turn it home. But it was the problem in the first half. I felt it was almost too easy for us. Leicester completely stood off us. They literally just gave us complete control of their half and allowed us to basically take the game and do whatever we wanted with the ball. And
they kept giving it back to us as well.
Yeah, it was too easy. Every time they got the ball, they just lumped it forward, looking for Vardy in behind. But Romero van der Ven very much had that under control. I think Leicester didn't had one shot that whole half, and it wasn't on target. They very much struggled to create anything. They couldn't really lay a glove on us on that first half. And Spurs weren't just having possession for possession's sake. We were creating chances. We were getting the ball in the box. Solanke had numerous a couple of headed chances. Brendan Johnson had a chance, as you say. We were linking up really well down the left-hand side. I thought Son, Maddison, Udogie and Solanke were doing some really good link-up play down that side as well. And it seemed like only a matter of time before we did open the scoring, and thankfully we did with a really good goal from Pedro Porro. And one thing you'd notice with that goal as well is Solanke obviously is at the back post, but what you notice there is because of his presence, he's got 2 defenders occupying him, and it leaves Porro with that bit of space in the box to just make that late run and get what was actually a really beautiful, delicate header into the back post. And that was definitely a reward for what was a brilliant first half from us.
Yeah, it was. And I was saying to a lot of people at half-time in the stadium, we should be 3-4-0 up here. We were absolutely smashing them off the park, and 1-0 is a dangerous scoreline to be going into the second half. I still felt at that time, we're going to go on to win the game 3-0. Leicester are going to have to come out, and that they definitely did. But James Maddison in that first half, the best performance I've seen from him since probably the first 10 games of last season. He was pulling the strings. He seemed to be really feeding off the energy from the fans, because Spurs fans were giving him a lot of love and the away fans were booing him as well. So I feel like he loves those kind of situations where, kind of the pantomime villain, as I was saying before the game. But definitely our best player in the first half, I thought.
Yeah, and I thought he was picking up all sorts of pockets and spaces, making life really difficult for Leicester. And I thought not only when he got in those spaces, he was actually getting pieces of magic. He was getting these little flicks around defenders. He was linking up really well with Solanke as well. There was actually one moment in the first half which really encouraged me about what Solanke's going to bring. Maddison picked up the ball on the edge of the area and he fired the ball into Solanke, into his feet. And Solanke was able to... He had 2 defenders behind him, and he was able to hold off both defenders, take the ball under control, and just lay it back off to Maddison. And then Maddison takes the ball, gets a little touch to the left, and I think he tries to lay it back off to Solanke, but couldn't quite find him. But that one moment in that first half showed me the difference of having someone like Solanke in the front line compared to Richarlison and Son, because neither of those players would have been able to do just that little thing that Solanke was able to, just hold the ball in the box with players around him, have the strength and the confidence to hold off your defender, and also lay it back off with a bit of quality back to your teammate. It's something that Richarlison and Son really struggled with last season with their back to goal, and it's just not their strength. But Solanke, I thought he did it a number of times yesterday. Unfortunately, on the occasions he did do it, things were just maybe a centimetre off, or defenders were able to get blocks in the shots, but I really believe if Solanke keeps doing that kind of stuff during the season, that's going to really pay off in waves, in my opinion. And that was really encouraging. I think Maddison's really going to benefit from having Solanke in the team.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think they've played with each other at youth level or England level, and there is a bit of synergy between them. You saw how happy Maddison was to see Solanke when he did join. So hopefully that will show on the pitch as well. Maddison did have 3 key passes throughout the game yesterday, which was quite impressive. If you bring on his stats, you can see there 3 key passes, 3 out of his 4 long balls done successfully, 2 dribble attempts out of 2 successful. I really did think he had a really proper, strong, particularly first half, and he was pulling the strings, he was dictating the tempo of the play, he was being creative. Really good assist as well for Pedro Porro. So definitely Maddison back at it. So let's hope we can see this on a consistent basis from him.
Yeah, and he created, that from the corner for Bentancur, which headed it off the line. He created that chance for Brennan Johnson at the back post as well. He created the goal. And he was just getting in the box and causing havoc. And it was a delight to see. And hopefully, unfortunately, it seemed, I don't know whether he tired in that second half or, definitely after on the hour mark, but he didn't have the same impact. But
he always does seem to tire Maddison, though. I think it's like a common theme since he's joined us.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But second half, he didn't have the same impact.
But you can see, just looking at this progress bar, just how dominant we actually were in that first half. There just wasn't much in there from Leicester. I think Vicario did make, 1 save in the first half?
No, none. Didn't.
Or none. Well, Vardy's goal was their first shot on target, wasn't it? So that just shows you how dominant we actually were. And it was a bit annoying that we only went in with a 1-goal lead, because our performance deserved a lot more, didn't it? And that game should have been done and dusted by half-time.
And that's what we were saying at half-time here in the studio. The only negative about our first half is that the game's not over and it's only 1-0, and that's the biggest disappointment. And especially Solanke on his debut, I know he did brilliant. I actually think he had a really good game, in terms of an overall striker performance.
He did.
The impact he had on the team. But that header at the back post, I know it's a diving header, it's not the easiest chance, but a player with Solanke's aerial ability, he would back himself to hit one of the corners with that kind of chance. Really good cross from Sonny for that one as well. He had another header, a bit more of a difficult opportunity, but he had another glancing header which went straight at the keeper. And then obviously he had that one in the second half as well, which also hit straight at the keeper, which we're probably really disappointed with. But at half-time, we were sitting here delighted with how much control we had. I think the biggest joy in that first half wasn't necessarily the chance we created, which was good, but also that, given in pre-season we've been giving up chances easily. Leicester didn't have a look in. They couldn't create an opportunity. They couldn't get near our box, and that was really, really encouraging about that first half.
And another player who I thought really stood out in that first half was Pedro Porro. The switches of play that he was doing, his passing. Obviously, he did get on the score sheet as well, but he was a proper thorn in Leicester's side down that right-hand side and through the middle of the park as well. And I felt like our pressing on that right-hand side of the pitch with Brennan Johnson, with Pat Matissar, with Pedro Porro, and with Rodrigo Bentancur as well. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I know, a lot of people, including myself, have a big problem with Brennan Johnson's performance yesterday. But I did think his pressing, because I've spoken to you about this, about his pressing and how I think that's a flaw in his game. I actually thought that he did really well in that aspect in the first half.
Well, he made 6 tackles, more than anyone else, I think, on the pitch. So I think that goes to show how he was definitely getting in amongst it in terms of being aggressive. I think Spurs yesterday made the most tackles in the opposition's final third, more than anyone else this week in the opening weekend. So that goes to show how aggressive we are and how front foot we are. Brennan was definitely a big part of that. And to be fair, I did think for the first half an hour or so he was a big threat. He had that volley which was saved by the goalkeeper. Really good.
That was a great volley, by the way.
Good volley. And then he had that chance at the back post, which he probably could have done better with. But he was threatening. But unfortunately, I felt after about half an hour, his influence diminished quite a bit.
Yeah. Sonny, a lot of people in the away end had a big issue with Sonny's performance yesterday. And, a lot of people I bumped into in the service station were talking about Sonny. He had, I think, obviously, what you're going to get with Sonny in terms of work rate. And I think you saw that on the pitch yesterday. But too many times for me, he didn't go and take on that man, and he checked back a lot of times.
Well, he actually, funnily enough, Son, apart from, I think it's Saka, he had the most touches in the penalty area of the more than anyone in the first game week, which showed he was able to get in good positions and get to the byline quite often and get into the box. I actually thought he was pretty creative. He did create some chances. He created that one for Solanke.
Yeah.
I don't know if he created the other one as well in the second half for Solanke, but I thought he was causing quite a bit of trouble. But the problem I felt when he went on his left foot, for some reason his crossing was very much off it. He wasn't able to find any crosses, and a bit also frustrating as well. He had some opportunities to get a shot off, didn't take them. Decided to take the extra pass and try and create an opportunity that way. And what I've always said, with Son, him playing on the left-hand side as a touchline winger, especially at this stage of his career, I'm not saying he can't do it completely. I think he can still do a fairly good job. I just don't think that gets the best out of his biggest strength, which is his ability to finish and his ability to, when he gets shots off, be really effective with his shooting. When we should never. I don't like the fact that we sit at the end of a game and Sonny's had 0 shots. I don't think that's that's how you get the best out of him, in my opinion. I don't think he had actually a particularly bad game, especially in the first half. I thought he was pretty good. I thought his link-up play on the left-hand side was actually really, really good with Maddison and Destiny, and I thought he was doing some good stuff. Second half, he was completely anonymous, I have to say. I thought he really struggled to impact the game second half. But first half, he was all right. But as I say, when we're sitting here at the end of the game and Son has had 0 shots, for me, that's a bit of a problem.
I feel like the perfect position for Sonny is like that left-sided winger or the left-sided number 10 in the Conte system, where you've got the wing-backs, really high up and getting high up, really wide and getting high up the pitch. And then Sonny is on the left but tucked in a bit. Those are the positions that you want Sonny in, like kind of central zone. Left. Yeah, exactly.
That's where you want him. And I'm not saying he has to be there always, but he should at least have 2 or 3 times a game, right, where he's finding himself in that area and he can get a shot off. And
but that's not the way Ange plays his wingers.
That's the problem. That is the problem. So I don't know where Ange should maybe make a bit of adjustment, allow Son to come inside a bit more, and maybe put a doggy a bit wider on occasion, or does Son just need to really get better at beating his man and become a bit of an elite chance creator, which I don't know at 32 if he can change that much. I don't know. There needs to find a solution here, because I feel like with Brennan, the way we play our wingers, that is how you get the best out of someone like Brennan, in my opinion, because even though people can complain about Brennan, clearly I think what he's best at is getting to that byline, whipping the ball across the face of goal and creating chances in that way, using his pace to get past people in that way. That is his strengths, and that is kind of a good profile for what Ange wants his winger to do: hug the touchline, get to the byline, cut it back. That's fine. Son can do it to a decent standard, but can he do it to a good enough standard where that's going to take us to the next level? And does it get the best out of his strengths? I mean, these are questions. I'm not saying I'm not 100% decided that he can't do it, but I think the jury's definitely out, in my opinion.
We touched on Dominic Solanke before, but I was really impressed with Dominic Solanke's performance on the ball, off the ball. I thought he was holding up the ball really well. I thought he was coming deep. He was winning the ball back countless amount of times. He was, winning those ground duels. I mean, he was really aggressive, wasn't he? And he was, a bit creative at times, playing some nice passes. But what let him down on the day was his finishing. And as a striker, you need to put at least one of those chances in the back of the net. And if one of those chances go in, we go on and win that game. I have no doubt about it.
Well, if you look at his stats, I think it tells the story. 7 out of great ground duels won for him, which is really impressive for a forward. That's probably one of the first times we've had a forward do that. 3 out of 3 dribble attempts are completed.
And you know what? I was quite impressed with that, because I didn't know he had that kind of dribbling ability to his game, and I was really impressed with what I saw with that.
Yeah, and a few times he was taking people on and beating them. And I really thought he was actually a really good backboard, as I was saying, in that centre. We were able to get the ball to him. He was holding it up. He was laying off. He laid one off for Maddison. He laid one off for Bergvall in the second half. Maybe he was a bit guilty of laying too much off. There was a couple of occasions where I thought he could have just taken a touch, swiveled and shot, and instead he just took his back to goal and laid it off for someone else, which I think and he also laid one off for Kulusevski in that second half, who he should have shot, and Kulusevski tried to find him again, which was a bit frustrating. So I thought that part was honestly not just good, I thought it was excellent. I thought it was really, really strong. And if he's going to perform like that for the whole season, that is something apart from his goals, if he's going to add that as well to the striker position, I mean, that's an incredible addition in terms of adding that striker up front, that different kind of player, because it's something we massively missed. But obviously, the frustration will be at 1-0. He had 3 very presentable opportunities to make it 2-0, or at least get himself on the score sheet. The biggest one, probably the one where he had that one-on-one with the keeper, and he could have gone far post, he could have gone maybe near post. There was a defender there, but he hit it straight at the keeper at that point. And I think it wasn't long after that Leicester equalised as well. So that will probably add to the frustration. And I remember sitting here in the studio, after he missed that third chance, I'm saying, I'm liking his performance, but I'm worried because if Leicester score soon, he could be taught a very harsh lesson about missing chances in the Premier League at this level. And he was. We conceded, and he never really got another opportunity as presentable as the ones he had at 1-0. And it cost us 3 points, to be honest. Not just him. He wasn't the only one who missed chances, but when he's the big star striker and 3 of our best chances fall to him, he's gonna have to take a bit of flack. But I have to say, I think it was a majorly positive debut, in my opinion.
I agree. I just can't get away from those missed chances because you literally, if one of those goes in, we go on and win that game, and it's so frustrating how dominant we were, how many chances that we were creating. Leicester had no answer to us whatsoever. They didn't hardly come into our half. We were camped out in their half for 45 minutes, potentially even 60 minutes before, however long it took Vardy to score, because I felt Vardy did score somewhat against the run of play. I know Leicester were kind of like growing into the game at that point, but
unfortunately he scored none.
He scored none. Yeah, exactly. Very good. Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive signs there from Dom Solanke, and there's a lot to take from his performance, but he's going to be marked down for those goals that he didn't score, because you got to be scoring one of those. You just have to be.
Yeah, and I guess also frustration isn't just that we didn't make the most of being 1-0 up, which we should have, but also how we reacted to conceding.
That's the thing for me.
That was also
a concern. It just shows our soft underbelly. Once again, how many times have we spoke about? How many times have I sat in this chair and said, under various different managers, no matter who the manager is, one thing goes wrong in a game and we completely just lie flat. We don't know what we're doing. We look lost on the football pitch. We make stupid decisions, stupid tackles, stupid passes, keep losing the ball, keep giving it back to them. And we just completely opened for them. Completely. Suddenly, Fatawu was finding all this space down our left-hand side, down their right. Jamie Vardy got in countless amount of times. It took for a really good save from Vicario, not for Leicester to go 2-1
I
up.
won't say countless, I'll say twice. The goal in that, probably chance.
Well, if it depends how many times you can count. But look, they did open us up time and time again. It was a few times. I don't even think it was just twice. Maybe just Jamie Vardy twice.
They had 3 chances probably during the game. There was that goal, the Vardy chances, and there was that one where Bergvall made a mistake.
For a period of, 15, 20 minutes? Was it a period of 15, 20 minutes? We just looked completely lost.
I would say it was about 15 minutes. We were overrun. Leicester had their tails up. It was just,
and we could have lost the game in those 15 minutes.
Vardy had an unbelievable chance. I think Vardy probably a few years ago buries that. So we got a bit lucky with that one, even though it's on his left foot. Bergvall obviously got a bit lucky with the opportunity he gave away. Which, although it was a bad opportunity, I always felt Vicario was going to save that header from Indeed. But still a presentable opportunity. And it probably, in a weird way, I know it's probably horrible to say, but the Bentancur injury probably helped us in a way in terms of how the game was going. We needed that break in play just to calm ourselves down.
It's funny you say that, because I said exactly that to Barry, who was sitting next to me. I was like, Leicester are so on top right now, and as soon as that break in play, it was a good 7-8 minutes that Bentancur was down for, and it just let us regroup. It let us just take the sting out of the game a little bit, and that's exactly what it did, and we kind of
Fighting
grew.
The crowd a bit.
We grew after that, and we kind of gathered ourselves and got back into the game. We obviously gained a bit more control in the game, but we still couldn't find the back of the net.
Yeah, but look, after that period, we did have some really presentable opportunities. Decky had that chance, which he should have just shot, and he tried to pass to Solanke. You had obviously Bergvall set up right in the last kick of the game. Beautiful free kick, by the way, from Bergvall. Which, by the way, what confidence for an 18-year-old in that kind of game to come on, and he's now he's taking all the set pieces. He's like demanding the ball. This guy looks like a real, confident play. He looks so ready just to slot in the Premier League. I know he made that mistake, but apart from that, I thought he was brilliant. Last minute of the game, we've got a set piece to, try and create an opportunity, and he puts it right on the money for Richarlison. What a beautiful cross! And Richarlison should have really buried it. He should have scored that. Should have assisted a winner on his debut, really, Bergvall. And I thought in those last 15 minutes of the game, we were really playing some good football actually, and really getting into the Leicester penalty area a lot. We just couldn't find that finishing touch, and that was really frustrating. But yeah, I think Andrew will be concerned with the reaction to conceding, and also we did a whole bloody video about conceding goals at the back post, and game week 1 we conceded yet another goal at the back post.
Romero's got to be doing better with that situation. I mean, what is Romero doing? Who's he defending at that point?
No, he's completely lost. You've got to blame him. And this is something I've come to. I think I criticise the Ange for the setup as well. I actually think like when we're in the mode where like in the first half where we're in control, we've got a really good pressing setup where if Leicester win the ball, we're on them like a flash, and we're forcing them into long ball forward, and we're just mopping up the long balls over the top with Van de Ven and Romero, and we're preventing transitions because we're being really aggressive. I think in those phases we actually defend really well, and we actually prevent Leicester from, getting transitions and getting anything in the game. And those moments, like when it comes to defending, it's actually really good. But when we do get into stages like we did after we conceded, where the opposition have a bit of control, and we're the ones dropping deep and having to defend, and we're the ones under the cosh a bit, I just find our defending all over the place. I just find it's so easy whenever a cross goes in, no one's marking properly, no one's doing anything. Like you see all the top teams when they have to defend, they do it properly. And but when we have to defend, that's still a massive glaring issue with us. And that happened with the goal as well. That period, everyone was back. We had to, pick up our men. We have to defend. We have to be compact. And we failed miserably. Vardy has got a complete free header at the back post. That's completely inexcusable. How is no one marking their only striker in the box? It's absolutely crazy.
It's such a small striker as well. It's so easy to defend him. You've got a World Cup winning centre-back in Cuti Romero. You've got Pedro Porro at the back post. Both of them are marking absolutely no one. I know it's Romero's man, but Porro could also follow in and help him if he sees signs of trouble. I think it's just absolutely shambolic defending all round when the game's on a knife edge as well. We're 1-0 up, and you basically just chucked away the game. And how many times are we going to sit here and talk about Tottenham's soft underbelly? And I'm sorry, it's a mentality issue. It really is a mentality issue when this thing happens time and time again, no matter what the manager is. You cannot, like a team with a top mentality, if you concede a goal, you do not just lay down and just part like the Red Sea. You go up the other end and score a bloody goal. You go, you know what, they've scored a goal. We're going to take this game by the scruff of the neck. What did we do? We completely lay flat and opened up. It was completely ridiculous. And how many times have we seen stuff like that? How many times?
We let it affect us. We let the goal affect us, and Andrew will be fuming about that.
And that's a mentality issue.
But I'm just thinking about what the plan is in terms of how we defend. Because I'm struggling at the moment. Look, I thought we played some beautiful football yesterday. I love watching the way we play football, and I want to continue watching us play football like that. But I want to understand what the plan is from Ange. Is the plan from Ange basically to have what we had in that first half of the whole game, where we're just going to dominate, we're going to prevent the opposition from getting forward, and we're going to prevent transitions, and we're just going to suffocate the opposition, and we need to control a game like that for 90 minutes, and we're not even going to, worry about how we defend when we have a rest defence, because is the plan not to give the opposition control at all, and that's why we can't defend when the opposition have control, or when the opposition do have control, are we not doing what Ange wants us to do defensively? And that's what we've got to work on. I'm trying to still work that out because at the moment I can't really tell whether we train properly defensively in terms of a rest defence. in terms of when the opposition have control and we have to kind of, backs against the wall a bit and we have to be a bit resolute. We just seem to not be able to do that at all. We don't pick up our men. When crosses coming in the box, it seems to be very easy for wingers and opposition players to be finding strikers or players running into the box without any pushback from our back line. It seems to be way too easy for opposition teams to make chances in those periods. But what I would say is, when we are in periods like we were in that first half, we do defend really well. We are really on the front foot. We prevent the opposition from getting near our box, and we're penning them in, and we're looking delightful. So I'm just wondering whether that's why we can't defend when the opposition has control, because the plan is to not give them control, or are we still getting to grips with how Ange wants us to defend when we do have to have our backs against the wall? I'm just trying to work that out.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to work that out for a good few weeks at least, once we see more games. But we know for a fact that it's a common theme that keeps happening now. It's a common theme. And then we're sitting here, first game of the season, and we're blaming the same issues that we were speaking about last season and last week, but last season as well. And it's just not good enough. It really isn't good enough. And however good we were in the first half, we didn't put those chances away. And to lay flat like we did, it's just inexcusable, really. It really is inexcusable against a Leicester team where their fans are depressed, they think they're going straight back down, they've got impending points deductions, they had absolutely no threat whatsoever in the first half, and we let them dominate like that. In a 15-minute period where they could have won the game.
Yeah,
and that's the reality.
What cost us.
That is the reality. But what I would say yesterday about the fans, obviously I was there at the King Power, and I thought the fans absolutely delivered yesterday, from before the game, in the concourse, in the stadium. So loud until probably about, till Leicester really put it on us, where even the fans were loud then when Leicester were dominating. I thought the Spurs fans, like they always do, travel in their numbers. The voices were there to be heard. I don't know if you could hear it on TV, how loud they were.
Very loud. Was there a real, before the game, a real sense of excitement?
Yeah, 100%. I was in the pub before the game, and it was rocking there, and it was even more rocking in the concourse and in the away end, when usually it's like the kind of other way around, where it's really rocking in the pub, and then in the away end it's a bit subdued. But it was really loud, and it was great to be a part of it. It's a shame that the team couldn't deliver for us.
And then after the game, obviously we got the draw. I'm sure everyone was disappointed, but what was the sense, in the crowd? Was there a bit of any toxicity or anything, or was it just a sense of, we just got a bit unlucky today?
It wasn't toxicity. It was more like, same old.
Spurs, right? Yeah. Was that disappointment? Was there much anger?
No, I didn't really see any anger. It was more like depression, to be honest.
Depression. All right, fair enough. It's interesting to know. Look, it is only game week 1. It's important to remember. You can't look, as much as it's a massive blow, especially because newly promoted side. Ange has, I think, won every game against newly promoted sides as Tottenham manager so far. So to drop points in game week 1, when you think about it, we're technically now already 2 points behind on last season, because we probably won all 3 games against promoted sides away from home last season. So that's going to be the frustration. But you know what? I was actually looking at the Leicester team, from the team they lined up with, and I have to say, they got along the back line, Justin Vestergaard, Faust, and left back was Justin Vestergaard, Faust. I can't remember who the left back was. Christensen, another international. You had Indeed and Winks in the middle. You had Buonanotte.
He looked good, Buonanotte.
Fatawu, D. Cordova-Reid, and Vardy up front. And I was thinking about that, and that every player in that team has a lot of Premier League experience, and maybe we underestimated them a bit in terms of if we allowed them back in the game, how much of a threat they could be. Because I was thinking into this, I thought going into this game, maybe it was going to be a much changed Leicester side from what we saw in like Premier League years, teams gone by. But actually, it was a lot more similar than I expected. And you got that Leicester team. Everyone's obviously predicting them to go straight back down, but that's a lot of Premier League players in that team. I don't think that's a Championship team. That is a Premier League team there, I think we face yesterday.
Well, and that's the reason why they absolutely smashed the Championship last season.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I think a lot of people maybe expected a Championship style kind of Leicester team to
I think it was more maybe like what's surrounding the club right now. There's a lot of negativity within the fan base. They think they're going straight back down. They've just, lost their manager to Chelsea and brought in a much more reserved manager in Steve Cooper. And they've also got those charges impending. So you're thinking that grey cloud is going to impact their performances as well.
Yeah, that was a thought. And obviously, I let Locks was very negative going into it. And let's be honest, we should have won the game 3-4-1.
Easy. It should have been done by half time. It should have been done by half time.
We only have ourselves to blame for why we didn't absolutely win that game. Like, in terms of the chances we had, we should have easily won that game. Well, I just have to chalk it up to the fact that we missed those chances, and it was Solanke's first game. He's still getting used to his teammates, albeit he seemed to have quite a good rapport straight away anyway, but he's still getting used to it. And hopefully we can put it right, on Saturday against Everton, and we can put this result behind us. But obviously it is a blow having just that draw. But in terms of, the football we played and stuff like that, was there anything for you to suggest there's been improvements on that front from last season?
I think definitely improvements from the second half of the season last year. I thought we played our best 45 minutes than probably that we've seen since probably that Aston Villa game and the first 10 games of the season, Definitely our best performance since the Aston Villa game in terms of first 45 minutes. Obviously, what happened in the second half happened in the second half. I thought we were good for the first hour, to be honest, until Vardy scored.
Which was their first shot on target.
Yeah, which I thought we were good. So it was a good performance for the most part. And even for the last 10, 15 minutes, I thought we were good as well. It was literally just that period where we just looked absolutely lost and shell-shocked. And that was hard to take, because we literally, like I said, could have lost the game in that period. And if we could just dust ourselves off and get back to it against Everton, I do think we win that game. I really do. But I was talking to you before the game how it's really important to have momentum going into that Newcastle and Arsenal game. And this ain't giving us momentum drawing the first game. But it does have a few similarities to the first game of the season last year, first game under Ange, Our right-back scores, Pedro Porro and Emerson last year, and also concussion, first game of the season. This time last year, Romero got the concussion, Bentancur this time. And we also drew the game against a tricky away side in the Premier League. So there are a few comparisons, and we did go on to have a very good start of the season last year. So just because we drew against Leicester doesn't mean we can't have a good start. But having said that, we've got an incredibly difficult start to the Premier League this season. We've got Everton at home next game, where last season they gave us a really hard game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We did end up winning the game. Then we go to Newcastle, which we all know what's happened there the last couple of years. Arsenal at home, we've lost there the last two years. Brentford at home, which should be a win. And then we go away to Man U and away to Brighton, which we drew away to Man U last year, and they look to have better players in their side this year. And we lost and got battered away to Brighton last year. And we lost at home to West Ham, who's the next game after that. So a lot of games that we've got coming up, we actually did really poorly in last season.
Well, the plan is to improve on last season. So first game hasn't done it, but
Yeah.
hopefully the following. Look, obviously that is a daunting set of games, but we just got to take it on the chin, and there's no reason to be fearful. We can do it. I think we play great football. We just got to bloody put away our chances.
If we go beat Everton and beat Brentford and don't win against Newcastle, Arsenal, Man United and Brighton, are there going to be murmurings about Ange from the fans? You were saying Ange is going to be under pressure if he doesn't have a good start to the season this year.
Yeah, I agree. I do think he will be.
Whether you think it's right or not, you gave me this question before the start of the season. Are there going to be fans that are going to be starting to question, and is toxicity going to kind of sleep into this fan base?
Depends how bad it really gets, but and also it's a bit of context as well in terms of how we play. But for sure, if we keep giving away these goals and these goals keep costing us points, the noises will get louder. 100%. I'm still obviously fully bought in on Ange, and I love what he's doing with the team, and I love the football we play. And sometimes I'm just watching the football we play yesterday. I'm just mesmerised with the control and how we open teams up. And if we won that game 4-1, no one cares about that goal we conceded. But at the end of the day, we drew because we missed those chances. So, look, we have to bank on the fact that our strikers are going to start being more ruthless. And if they can't be more ruthless and we keep giving away stupid goals, Ange is going to naturally come under pressure just because of how long this poor form has gone on for. And that's just natural with football fans. The only thing I would say is, if you get rid of Ange mid-season, considering how much we've backed him, where do we even go from there? You can't even get Poch back now because he's gone to the US. So I don't know where you would go. But look,
Conte is going to be available soon, I think.
I don't think it's time to talk about Ange leaving any at the moment. But if he does have a poor, if this starts the season, continues to be poor and we keep giving away silly goals, there will be people questioning whether this is the right plan long term, for sure.
Yeah, as much as I 100%, I'm also completely bought into Ange, and I don't want to see him leave anytime soon. Even if we do have a rocky start to the season, I still want to stick with him and stick with the process and see where it takes us. But you too can't get away from the reality that this team that we've got now, this squad that we got now, would actually be really good for Conte.
You reckon? Yeah, I guess.
It would be.
Probably.
You could have 2 wing-backs in Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie. You've got 3 strong centre-backs there now, where look at the centre-backs that he had when he was at the club. You could play Son more in his natural position where he's a bit more central. You've got Dominic Solanke, a good hold-up striker that can put the ball in the back of the net. You've actually got a lot of players that that would suit his system really well, in my opinion.
So I'll bring Conte back.
I'm not saying bring Conte back, because Conte's at Napoli right now, albeit it looks like he could be walking out there fairly soon. But I do think this is a really good Conte side.
Makes a difference to Longley and Sanchez.
100%.
And Emerson and Sessegnon and all these people, definitely.
Yeah. But anyway, that is our match review as Spurs drew 1-1 in their season opener.